What up, nerds, and welcome to another cryogenic episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 370, recorded Monday, May 9th, 2022. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the winner of the May poll pick, which was Jason X. Before we get down to it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., or outer space as it appears. What up, Randu?
How's it going, buddy?
Chilling, just chilling. We are in outside space, collectively.
Yeah, you know, I really just got tired of the old rigmarole of the city. I thought I'd get out of town a little bit, you know? Gravity
is overrated. It's for the birds.
I thought maybe I just cryogenically freeze myself in the darkest lab in all the time and wake up 450 years later, take my head out of the game a little while,
You know, I respect it.
We all need our day off.
Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy Earth Deuce Stains. Straight from the old Earth Deuce.
Too easy. It's too easy.
Dude, any choice from this movie is too easy.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, it really is an easy punch down, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Dude, it killed me when dude.
Hold on.
Oh my god.
We have not introduced the movie yet.
I can't wait to talk about this movie.
Well, that makes one of us.
That does make one of us. That can confirm.
Damn.
Yeah.
Gonna carry this one.
Before we jump into Jason X, which is actually celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. So
that's why we picked it.
That's why
we're
we left it
up our
up.
shots here.
We're very reverent towards this movie. If that's not clear,
one of us will be.
This thing aired April 26, 2002 for the first time. So just over 20 years old. Look at that. Before we get into the review, though, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Here's another reminder. We have our June poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. The theme was actually Randy's Takeover Month. Randy,
oh yeah,
what did you land on?
Well, the theme for my particular Takeover Month is going to be made for TV horror, and I've got a bunch of films that were made for broadcast television purposes. There's the BBC's Threads. There's Duel, this first Spielberg film, as a matter of fact. And then there's Body Bags, the pilot turned TV movie from John Carpenter and several other horror people. So horror directors. Whoa. I can't remember off the top of my head now. I think Tobe Hooper's in there.
Wes Craven has a cameo in it. I can't remember if he directed.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Short.
Well, regardless, there's a lot of horror clout in that one. So yeah.
I was I've never seen any of those, but one of them has a reputation of being one of the most horrifying movies of all time, which is a bold claim. And yet somebody also checked it out for the first time on our Slack and was saying it might live up to that title, which is nuts.
I've heard this from a few different sources. I don't know that this movie is all that well known, but based on the voting, I think it's more well known than I thought.
Well, that's Threads, right?
Yeah,
that's Threads. Yeah,
Threads, and Threads is currently winning, but it's only beating out Body Bags by a single vote. And Duel, Duel is in last place. So make sure to get
Soul Spielberg does not move in the needle very much.
Apparently not, man. Get those votes in before the end of May. We'll see which of these three movies we're talking about in June. We are currently celebrating Friday the 13th here at Straight Chilling. This upcoming Friday is the one and only Friday, the 13th of the year. So in addition to talking about Jason X tonight, we also recorded a brand new mini cast that's going to be dropping on Friday the 13th on our Patreon website.
Oh, God, yes. Come with me.
Come with us. Come with all of us.
Oh, yeah. This is one of those big bonus episodes.
Yeah.
The big boner episodes.
We call it a mini cast.
God
This one's long
It's
enough.
like an hour long. Yeah.
It's an hour long.
Oh wow, that hardly qualifies as mini. At this point.
Yeah, it just doesn't have all the extra segments.
Yeah.
It's really just a regular
show.
cast minus all the extra bullshit.
All this and more can be yours at the low price of whatever the first tier of our Patreon is. I can't remember.
The fuck. Actually, it's $10 or above. You get access to all of our mini casts. We got a backlog of over 60 on there, and you can listen on whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Specifically,
Wasn't that nice of me?
God, that scared me
yes,
a
it
little.
was. Specifically, this Friday,
it's doing its job.
Juice and I discussed the entirety of the Friday the 13th franchise. Slam it into your ear hole.
Every single film, there's like, what, 12?
12, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So check that out this Friday. In other Patreon news, we have not one, but two brand new Patreon supporters.
It's about time. We need to slap some ass.
We're slapping
The ass
both
is getting
cheeks.
nice and pink again. We need to get it red.
Big thanks to Logan W. and Cody J. for helping us keep it weird around here tonight. We're slapping all the asses. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. We really do appreciate it. And as is tradition, we owe you both the straight chilling salute. These go out to Logan and Cody. Here we go.
Slap my ass. Oh, God, slap me in the ass.
My ass was getting way too white.
You know, it's pale. It needs some color.
You white ass. You're so white.
I am so white.
Thanks again,
That is
guys.
an accurate thing to say.
Thanks for making Juice's Red a little pinker than it was this morning.
Yeah. Well, sincere thanks to you people.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
thank you.
That's all we got for Patreon news. The last thing I got is I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that hung out this past Friday for our Joe Bob watch party. He did like a weird witch double feature and got pretty like wasted on the episode. I think he was playing it up, but like he appeared to be wasted at the end. He might just be a better actor than I thought. It was interesting. It was a lot of fun. We had a decent squad show up. It was fun as always. I do have to, unfortunately, skip this Friday's watch party, but we will. I know.
God.
Oh my God.
Bob.
Oh my God.
You're really letting them down.
You just need to get a second house in New Orleans, Bob. I think that's just, you need a little summer home.
Dude, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking at real estate in New Orleans. So
Oh, shit.
it probably won't happen, but, we'll see what's going on. We'll be back to our regular scheduled programming on Friday the 20th with our Joe Bob watch parties. That's all I got. Do you fellers have anything to add?
Nay. What do you have to add, Randy?
No, it's nay in the English sense, of course.
Oh, okay.
Because this is an English-speaking podcast.
Oh. Some of us are in South Korea, Southern Korea, Randy.
Well, most of us are not.
Southern Korea. House is clean.
House is clean.
It's clean.
This house is clean.
It's clean.
Randy cannot handle this section. This is Randy's.
It's when the
speed
banter
bump
starts, the thinking ends every time. It really does.
He gets a little tripped up. Poor little
I'm
fella.
waiting. I'm waiting for him to cut us off at any point now with the what's on the back. There it
It's
is.
on the back of the box.
I did not cue
Happy.
up. I didn't cue that bump up. We were rambling, and I actually was interested to see where it goes. This is how we make the sausage.
Oh, Jesus.
But we are talking about Jason
Rigatoni?
X. We're talking about Rigatoni tonight. Jason X came out 2002 with a runtime of 1 hour and 32 minutes. This was directed by James Isaac, written by Todd Farmer and Victor Miller. Based on characters by Victor Miller, anyways. Stars Kane Hodder as Jason Voorhees, Lexa Doig, Jeff Geddes, a little cameo by our boy Cronenberger, some other folks as well. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. Jason Voorhees is cryogenically frozen at the beginning of the 21st century and is discovered in the 25th century and taken to space. He gets thawed and begins stalking and killing the crew of the spaceship that's transporting him to Earth Deuce. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before, and how much do you love it? Randy.
Nay.
Randy, kick us off.
There you go.
Yes, I have seen it, as is evidenced by my beautiful Korean voice. I have seen this film. I saw this film. I was trying to think when it was that I saw this. It was just the once. It must have been around like 14, 15. Bob, we did a full run through of the Friday the 13th franchise, I think, but we skipped this one.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
We probably did, because I think it was one we'd both seen and weren't super hot on, so we stopped at 9.
And it was fresh on the tail of 2 other lesser entries into the franchise. Yeah. I can't imagine us making it through 3 clunkers back to back. So
yeah,
I think it must have been like, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that range. And for many years, my feeling towards this movie was that it is worthless dog shit that should not be viewed by anybody.
Damn.
And I went into this, though. I've been hearing a lot of things over the years about people saying like, no, it's a comedic, it's comedic gold. It's got, if you watch it with a certain lens, it's enjoyable. And I got to tell you, I didn't get a whole lot more of that out of this time. It seemed not that different from the first time. In fairness, both times I watched on my solitary lonesome. So maybe the crowd would make a difference, but otherwise I have nothing to recommend on this. I was stoned, didn't help that much.
Good for you.
Yeah. So it's a no for me.
All right. Juice, what about you?
I watched this for the first time a couple weeks ago when I was trying to get through the whole Friday the 13th franchise. And at the time I was having a blast and like texting all the ridiculous things on Slack. I went ahead and watched not all of it, but most, or like a large, at least over an hour's worth last night. I was kind of skipping around a little bit, but I was still having a lot. I'm one of those people who thinks it's a lot of fun. Now, as far as recommendations go, this is only for people who have some kind of investment in the Friday the 13th like franchise, because otherwise, why would you watch this? This is part 10 of the series. It is in space. So, I mean, it really kind of takes some kind of like appreciation for the character and the lore and the ridiculous situation that he finds himself in. But I think it is so much fun. Both times I was just having such a blast with it. It's such a fun, terrible movie to me.
I can't believe that I'm hearing you say that this is a movie for Friday the 13th fans.
Dude, I mean, it's not for anybody else.
I mean, it's not for anybody. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. Specifically, okay, and you have to understand my context. I was going through all. So by this point, I had watched 5. I had watched 8. So not.
This is not the worst. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So, I would recommend. In my total rankings of like Friday the 13th, I think this was in my top half. So there's that.
That's wild.
Taking a shit, you fucking gimp.
Out of 12 films, yeah, it's in the top 6, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, Bob.
And
people check out Jason X.
Yeah, I'd seen this a couple times, and similar as Randy's experience here. I wasn't a big fan of it, but going into it, Juice, you were talking so highly of it and how much fun you had. I was like, maybe I hadn't seen it in a few years. Maybe I'd appreciate it a little bit more. So I was kind of hopeful going into it, and then I watched it again, and I felt the exact same way. I was like, this is just not what I want.
Oh my God.
Wow, the rare Bob Randy mashup.
I'm going to be defending this terrible movie.
Yeah.
You did it to yourself, bro. What can we say?
That's the rare case.
Yeah. It is definitely for Friday the 13th fans, but it just does not deliver what I want out of a Friday the 13th movie. And like, even if I do my best to like remove myself from that franchise and watch this as a standalone, it still just doesn't land for me. I really can't recommend it to anybody on any basis unless you just need to see everything with Jason Voorhees.
Completionists.
Yeah, that's the only reason to watch this. But I am excited to talk about it with both of you. So let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
All right, boys.
All right.
We're doing
Bob,
it.
do you have a plot synopsis?
I do. Let me regale you with a fascinating
regale.
tale.
Yeah,
They
tell me.
they do a lot in an hour and 30 minutes, so Bob might be talking a while.
No, it's pretty short. They do a couple things. And here's what happens in this movie. Jason Voorhees is captured in 2008. He's held at the Crystal Lake Research Facility. His regenerative powers are being studied by scientists. He ends up breaking free, killing a whole bunch of smart people. One of the scientists there is named Rowan LaFontaine. She lures Jason into a cryogenic chamber in which he stabs through into her stomach, causing them both to be frozen for 455 years. Professor Brandon Lowe, a cyborg, and 7 of his students land on the now polluted and abandoned Earth. They search the facility. They end up finding frozen Rowan and Jason Voorhees. They collect them and blast off into space. They are currently en route to Earth 2, or Earth Deuce. They end up reviving Rowan, and they leave Jason in the morgue, assuming he is dead. Rowan explains Jason Voorhees cannot be dead and warns the crew. Brandon recognizes the name Jason Voorhees, and he thinks he can sell the corpse to a person with a shitload of money for a handsome sum. I guess people collect corpses in the future or something.
Sure.
Meanwhile...
Not just the future.
That's right. Now. Always have. Always will.
Juice collects right this second.
Meanwhile, Adrian is dissecting Jason's body. Her head ends up getting frozen and smashed when he awakens. Jason then interrupts some kids banging and kills them. Interrupts some kids playing some video games. Kills them as well. Sergeant Brodsky ends up arriving with some soldiers. They hunt Jason, but Jason kills all of them as well. The pilot tries to dock at a space station called Solaris. Jason kills him, and they end up crashing into it. Kinsa ends up trying to escape on a shuttle. She panics and forgets to disconnect the fuel line, crashing and killing herself. A now upgraded cyborg ends up kicking Jason's ass and leaves him for dead in a medical bay, in which some sort of futuristic nanotechnology revives him and turns him into Uber Jason. Jason punches the cyborg's head off. They end up using a holographic Camp Crystal Lake to distract Jason. While Brodsky goes outside to fix a power issue, he ends up fixing it as Jason realizes he's being fooled. Brodsky and Jason come to blows. The bombs that Brodsky laid out end up exploding, and they separate the crew from Jason, who ends up flying through outer space towards the capsule and is then intercepted by Brodsky, and the two crash land on the lovely Earth Deuce on a little lakeside there. Some kids watch them enter the atmosphere. As we then cut to credits, Jason's mask falls into the lake.
A delight to the senses, isn't it, my friend?
It is quite a delight.
It's something. It's Gogurt, but to stay. That's about it.
I am not given this opportunity often, and I'm glad I took such detailed notes because I'm going to defend the shit out of this terrible movie.
I'm sure you will.
All right.
No half measures when it comes to being the opposition.
I'm going to represent.
Justin, very briefly, we don't have to get like too deep into it, but like we recently covered the original Friday the 13th movie on the show, and we talked about that at length, and I think we're on the same page in like calling it a classic. Like it's a classic movie. We all dig it on a certain level, but since you specifically just watched all the Friday the 13th movies, would you now like consider yourself like a fan of the franchise, or do you just kind of dig like one or two here or there?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I generally think I would consider myself a fan of the franchise, and it's kind of relevant too because we have covered now at this point all of the Halloweens, which I was not super familiar with until over the past couple years we kind of knocked them out, and so that's kind of like the best comparison I have because I haven't seen all the Nightmares, I haven't seen all the Hellraisers or all the different kind of franchises that are out there. I've seen all the Saws, I guess, but that's kind of a different thing. But yeah, I think in general, Friday the 13th is probably more fun, but consistency wise, like, I don't know how different it is. I think the biggest thing that Friday is able to do that like Halloween's not able to do is stuff like this, where they take these wild swings. And I think that's going to come into a little bit more of my appreciation as well, because, like there's still maybe the same amount of good Halloween films as there are good Friday the 13th films. But the ones that are bad for Halloween are just bad because they kind of take some wild swings too, but they're so like boring, or they're like the Thorn thing or whatever.
They always take themselves serious too.
Yeah, but leading up to Jason X, this is like the past 3 Friday the 13th movies moving up to this. He fights a telekinetic girl. Okay, so he's essentially fighting Carrie. Then he goes to Manhattan. Then he is a worm that infects people, and then he goes to space. And so one of the things that I like really love and respect about this film is they pay this. So this was the 10th Friday film. They like got to call it Jason X, and they said, we're sending him to space, and they commit to that 110%, like in a lot of the worst ways, but it is all there. There is no like 80 minutes in a research facility and the past 10 minutes they launch a space. He is in space, and every reference and everything evolved around this is some play off of some stupid space spoof, and that is hilarious. Like that is hilarious.
Randy, I do want to. I wanted your answer to that question too. Like, would you consider yourself like a Friday the 13th fan, or is this like a franchise you're not super interested in?
I mean, yeah, okay. Well, I think for me, it occupies the same sort of weird nebulous area as like James Bond movies. Like there you can be a fan of the James Bond franchise and still hate a majority of the movies. Like it's really more about movie to movie what you enjoy about that. They're so diversified. They're so like there's very little consistency, and what consistency is there is played for laughs, or basically becomes laughs by the end of the day. So I would say yes, I am, but by no means am I a fan of every movie. No, by no means. Yeah. There's certainly a quality chasm between some of these things. So yeah, I guess that's my answer. Is that I'm a fan in general. I like Jason Voorhees as an institution. But, movie to movie is really the way I look at this franchise. I think that there's other franchises that maybe do it a little bit better, but there's so many and it's so different. Yeah, you can't really nail it in one category, I don't think.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think we're largely on the same page. There's a handful of these that I would probably consider like comfort movies or so that I would just throw on like throughout the summer to watch. But yeah, they're not all fantastic. Just like, that's the case with all these, slasher franchises with, almost a dozen or more entries in them. But to circle back to like the conversation of this movie specifically, Juice, you were kind of setting it up. It does deliver on the premise of like Jason Voorhees in outer space killing people, and there are like some futuristic things happening, whereas like in the previous entries, like they didn't necessarily deliver on the premise of the movie or the gimmick of the movie as well as you would hope they would, which is a feather in the hat of this movie for sure.
Definitely. And let me say something real quick, because I do want to point out that like I'm not as harsh on this movie as I was based on my have I seen it before segment. I want to clear the air on that. Like, this is not a movie that that doesn't really deserve an audience or anything like that. There's something to this, Juice. I think that what you're describing is perfectly legitimate. I just didn't get the same thing out of it. Yeah. And to me, it's like, it would probably make a difference if we had, like, if we were all drinking together or whatever. But even as a stone dude sitting there ready to giggle, I was mostly bored. But I do also appreciate that this movie does swing for the fences. Like you said, it doesn't stop. It doesn't do the thing where Jason Takes Manhattan where they make a promise and then they don't fulfill it for forever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the wall to wall Jason kills. Like that's definitely true. Or Jason, at least action sequences. So
or even Jason goes to hell.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I didn't kind of fulfill that kind of setup before, where the past three movies, like they did kind of swing for the fences in weird kind of ways, but also they like pulled the rug where they were like, Jason Goes to Manhattan. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds cool. Cause normally Jason's, killing people in the woods on a lake. Yeah. Oh, he's going to be in the city.
It's
no, so not really. Or Jason. Jason Goes to Hell. What is that going to be? He's a worm. It's like, what?
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one that baffles me more than any other movie in this franchise, more than Jason X. It's that like they went from Jason Takes Manhattan, a movie that even at the time people hated because they couldn't afford to, but they promised you that they would take Jason to Manhattan. They did for like a brief few minutes. And then in the second one, they think to themselves, well, that worked fine. Let's just make another unfulfilled promise on the cover of this fucking movie and make it something entirely different.
In regards to Jason Goes to Hell, I was watching some of the bonus features on the Jason X disc, and the writer was talking about working on that movie, and he was inspired by the film The Hidden that we actually, Heidelberg picked that for us to cover, I want to say a year or two ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Agent Cooper?
Yeah. And there was like an alien species that would jump from body to body, and he was inspired by that idea. And I thought that was really interesting to hear. I was like, damn, because The Hidden is not a bad movie, but like it just is not Jason Voorhees. It's not what you want from a Friday the 13th movie. So I think in that instance, if you're able to sort of remove Jason Goes to Hell and watch it, there's like some redeeming factors for it. But I don't feel the same way about this movie here specifically, because you do get Jason. Jason's in this movie and he's killing people, and I appreciate that they don't take themselves seriously and they're leaning into the comedy aspect of this movie, sort of like Part 6 does. But for me, this movie, the jokes don't really land, so the comedy doesn't work for me. I'm not really laughing as I'm watching this. And outside of like maybe 2 kills, I find the vast majority of the kill sequences like really kind of boring and uninspired. And sometimes they're not even at the hands of Jason Voorhees himself. They're just sort of like related to space stuff happening,
A girl gets sucked through a grating. That scene cracked me up because she's holding on to the same fucking grating as she's being sucked away. For some reason, her fingers don't fucking slice in half, but she goes up against the hole and it's suddenly just entrails.
That's what happens when you go up against the hole.
All of a sudden,
it's just
never go up against a hole.
Can we talk about how this movie starts at the Camp Crystal Lake Resort?
That's the funniest part of the whole movie to me. It's just
it's just an empty warehouse with Jason Voorhees in the middle.
It's like the darkest. They just decided, well, we don't have anything that looks like a research facility, so just turn all the lights out and we'll put one spotlight on Jason and that'll be good.
I love how there's just like no shame, no like just you can have whatever you want. Camp Crystal Lake Research Facility, sure. Like they just say it.
They couldn't afford woods. Like what?
Hang on though. That's the thing I appreciate this though. Like, dude, it's shitty, but they threw this. Okay, comparing it to like the past 3 movies, they threw money at this. They made a CGI space station that fucking explodes. Dude, that scene kills me too when they're going to Solaris, which Solaris This movie also, too, one thing I kind of appreciate, it does a ton of like references to actual space horror. So it kind of like kind of winks at the camera and that like, yeah, we know like what kind of subgenre we're like spoofing off of. And I appreciate that. Solaris is one of them. So they're going to the space station Solaris and Jason kills the pilot and it just fucking rams the space station. Now, the space station is way bigger than this spaceship. But this spaceship blows the fuck out of this Solaris. And then I love the line of like, oh, we'll just turn around and go back. And they look like in the rear view mirror, it's just exploding. Like, oh, we'll just turn around and go back. It's just fucking exploding. Yeah, that shit killed me. Like so many stupid things in this movie like killed me.
I don't know, man.
Have y'all ever seen Solaris, by the way?
No.
Oh, okay. That movie's pretty cool.
I like.
I don't think I've heard of it.
I like Jason flying through space for a second. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
and getting intercepted. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm kind of with Rob, where it's like the intentional comedy largely didn't get me. The accidental comedy was fine. Like that, I did get a chuckle or two out of things like the very obviously animatronic head that was being carried around. Mm-hmm. Like shit like that made me laugh. Like the incredibly dark set, like that made me laugh. Like I appreciate this movie kind of like sticks to its theme, but there's something I want to go back to, and it's the idea that this is a movie for Friday the 13th fans. I'm not sold on that at all. I kind of think this is a movie that is making fun of them. I kind of think this is a movie that's kind of intended to be like, well, fuck you. Here's your dumbass fucking Jason movie.
I think there's
suck my dick.
I think there's two meanings to that. Really, so like it is definitely a movie that the creators made for Friday the 13th fans. They didn't make it for anybody else, that's for fucking sure. But that doesn't necessarily mean like it was condescending. I think they were just like legitimately unsure what to do with the movie, and I can like kind of They were in a tight spot writing this movie. Freddy vs. Jason was greenlit, but they were having trouble writing the script for that movie, and it took several years to hammer it out. So in the meantime, they decided to just go ahead and make another Jason movie. But they didn't know what the script for Freddy vs. Jason was going to be, so they were like, we don't want to fuck up the continuity of that, so let's just set it way in the future so that no matter what they do, we're not going to get in their way. And they're like, okay, so what do we do with that? And they're like, well, sort of the final frontier of all these goofy, franchises is like, fucking throw that shit in space. So they kind of landed on that, which is low-hanging fruit, but in their specific situation, I do understand why they decided to do it.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Now, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like you look at things like the self-reference is in this movie. Like you mentioned, like that it's reverent of the lore. I don't think that's true at all.
Now, hang on.
No.
Let me disagree. Well, let me. So one point that I made. So you're saying like, oh, it's not for Friday the 13th fans. And I highly disagree. And this is the reason. So we were kind of talking about this in our breakdown. And after watching the franchise, this is what I kind of like landed on is the idea like the actual good Friday the 13th movies more toward the front half. And we kind of talked about this when we covered the first one last year. It's like the idea of more of like Camp Crystal Lake, because even Jason doesn't become the kind of Jason that we know by like 4. And so then we get to have a couple good movies of that Jason in this setting. But once they get to that point, like they even tried to do the movie without Jason Voorhees at one point. It's terrible. And then the franchise kind of shifts to where it's not necessarily about Camp Crystal Lake anymore, even the setting. Like we were just saying before, it becomes about putting Jason Voorhees in these crazy situations. So it shifts from the setting idea to this character of Jason Voorhees that then it becomes the staple established hulking masked giant with his machete. Like, and they're like, okay, what kind of crazy situations? Oh, let's make him fight a telekinetic girl. Even 6, where it's still in the same setting, they go like full comedy with it. So it really starts to become like, how do we take this character that now is the Friday the 13th franchise and put him in wacky situations? And I think that's completely what this movie is.
Now, to me, this movie is post-Scream, post-New Nightmare. They blew up our spot, and now we're looking at this franchise as a whole. We're not like, I'm sure Kane Hodder was reverent of the character. I'm not like positing that everybody involved with this like felt this way, but I think there's a certain condescension to where the franchise was at the time of this movie's release. I don't think that I think that like the days of like taking it any level of seriously were gone, and it had gotten so much criticism at this point that they're just like, fuck it. It still gets butts and seats. We can do whatever the fuck we want. Put them in space, make it stupid. Let's do Friday the 13th, but knowingly stupid, because the fans are going to slurp up our shit regardless. Like that's the impression I get from this movie, is not so much that it's like, it's just following the formula. It's following the formula and then pointing at the formula and saying like, isn't this fucking stupid? Like, why? Like, I don't know. I don't think that it is meeting Friday the 13th fans and giving them what they want out of a Friday the 13th movie any more than the previous several. I think that, like there's a certain breed of them that are, and that's the people that they're like, oh, well, fucking apparently they'll still eat it up. Well, and I don't think that I don't think it loves the fans, this movie. I just don't. I don't see that.
I don't know. I don't think this is condescending in any way, but when it came out, speaking of like people watching this movie back in the day, from what I understand, it was like panned. Everybody hated this movie back in the day, and I think it 20 years later, people are sort of like reflecting upon it and taking it a little lighter and appreciating some of the humor out of it. But like, I don't think fans were, quote, slurping their shit necessarily when this came out.
I think that's the attitude that they were bringing into this production.
I mean,
see, I see it as in the same way. Honestly, it's like the same to me as Freddy versus Jason. Let's put Jason in this crazy situation. He's going to fight this other horror figure. It's the same attitude. It's the same attitude. And I also enjoy Freddy versus Jason because it gets to that point. I'm not going to take, even like when they try to make this gritty remake of Jason Voorhees, like, oh, and look, it's just like, it's hard to take it seriously anymore. And especially because 6 is one of the best ones where they go full comedy. So like, why do you have to take this character seriously when half of the franchise doesn't take him seriously? So why is that an obligation? But why is that an obligation to the fans of the franchise that this movie be like? I don't get that, because half of the franchise is just putting Jason Voorhees in ridiculous situations. So they put him in space. I don't see that as like a middle finger up. Because they hated the previous movies too.
Like this is the thing. Like the fans of Friday the 13th, they weren't like huge on fucking Jason Takes Manhattan. They didn't love that he became a worm, and they just continued down this long string of doing that. But this time they did it with like a "fuck you, we're doing it anyway" attitude, which to me is just like, I don't see them as trying to like give people what they want out of the character. I definitely don't see Freddy versus Jason as on the same level, because people were clamoring for that for fucking a decade at this point. The fans definitely wanted that. They wanted no fan ever said, let's make Jason a worm, or let's make him a fucking space cadet. Nobody said that. They just did it.
I don't think
flagrant disregard of what people wanted.
Anybody's shitting on anybody here. I think it was just they had the money and the green light to make another movie, and we're trying to write around a movie that was also in production. Is how I see it.
Yeah, and
I'm not gonna sit here and say definitively that that's the case, but that's just the impression I get from this movie, is that it's not reverent towards. Well, and it doesn't have to be super reverent. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it gives much of a shit about giving people what they want, just making something for the screen, which is a formula that has pissed off fans in the past and clearly pissed off fans with this one. So
yeah, I at least respect that. And one of the reasons I don't think it's just like this middle finger up is because they could have done a Doom Okay, I kept thinking about Doom in this movie, where we're like,
it's not a Doom.
I will tell you because
to me.
I will tell you because Doom. The critique I have of Doom of like, how are you going to make a Doom movie where you're supposed to be in like Mars/Hell and you're just walking through dark hallways the whole time? With this, at least they commit one, like as far as their budget will take them to the idea that this person is in space. They send Jason flying through space. They have a robot fucking blast him to pieces. They have like everything about this is like space, like spoofs to the T. And like, I can't help but like at least respect, like stick in that theme. When you got fucking Doom over here.
Okay, that is a differentiator, but to me, tonally, they're the same. Go ahead, Bob.
When that cyborg does blast Jason to shit, speaking of Doom, she's using a gun that she calls the BFG.
Yeah.
So they're directly referencing Doom in this movie, which is fine. I don't really care one way or the other.
I kind of feel like they wanted this to be a Doom movie. I literally thought that in the middle of the movie. It's like they're trying to make a Doom movie around Jason, which, fine, whatever. But to me, that doesn't comport with what I like about Friday the 13th movies.
Something that I do want to discuss that is very central to Friday the 13th movies, and I think in making a good Friday the 13th movie, like we've discussed some of the comedy and whether that works for us or not. The flip side of that, I think, are the kills. Did those land with you guys, and which ones worked, and I guess which ones didn't?
I generally think they do. There are so here's the thing with me and this movie. They give you a ton of people to kill. And so because of that, I feel like it can feel like some of the kills like aren't up to par because several of them are done at least like off screen and you find them hanging later. So like, that's fair enough. But also you have to like recognize that there's like, I don't know, close to probably like 12 to 15 people die in this film. A lot of them, those like grunts and stuff. The drill, where he kills the guy with the drill and then he kind of like spins sideways down the drill. Yeah. Of course, the frozen face that he smashes.
Oh, yeah. Solid.
The girl getting sucked through the grating. What was some other one?
I liked where he...
That's the thing, is I can't think of more than that.
The only other one that I can really specifically recall is the first machete kill, where the kids are banging. Yeah. He stabs the guy through the stomach with his machete, and the guy turns around, and he just grabs the blade and pulls the rest of the machete through his stomach. I thought that was pretty cool and memorable. But outside of like that,
I don't remember
the
which
frozen head smash, none of them really do stand out to me. They're sort of like,
I'm with you,
kind of forgettable kills.
I would say the head smash, the drill, and then the grating
I didn't like the grating. The grating to me, because like I know I'm asking for a lot for this movie to care about anything like being realistic at all, but it just kind of like, I don't know, it like the way it was shot, it was not gory. They just put like some pig intestines on some grating and then blew a fucking leaf blower at it, and it just felt really cheap. And that, like, I don't know, that I didn't like. I understand like the conceptually what they were going for, it just didn't really work. I did like the face smash. They spent money on that one. Yeah, they showed it, and that's one thing that's like lacking from a lot. This movie has a high body count, and I think that's what they were aiming for rather than inventive kills. Because even the guy who was like on that drill, like that was great. And they had a great one-liner of like, he's screwed, which I thought was just like dumb on the right level to make me laugh. But like, aside from those, like a lot of these are off-camera kills, bodies you just find, or just like a stabbing, like just, he stabbed me.
There's
that one dude gets cut in half and like crawls away while he's still kind of alive. That was pretty solid.
That was all right. Yeah. The thing is, that's not memorable though. I've seen that before, and I don't know. In a movie that a series that hangs its hat on how inventive the kills can be, it just kind of felt like it was lacking as well. Like Bob.
I believe, if I recall correctly, I read somewhere that this movie has the most kills out of any Friday the 13th movie yet. There's I think there's like 10 or 12 that happen in the ship. And then this is kind of a cheat, but when they crash into that like space station, there's like tens of thousands of people that die. And like, I don't really count any of that.
And you could also make a point to include the fake people, the hologram people.
If you
Oh
wanted to,
my!
If you
That
really want to,
shit
because there are
killed
kills
me.
like they do. He does. But he reuses a kill where he slams people in a sleeping bag against
True.
a tree, which
Yeah.
is a fun callback. And I give him credit for that. Like, that's the scene where I actually feel like they care about anything about the Friday the 13th.
Well, not just
the
that.
only scene to me.
So I love that they pay reference because that is a pretty infamous scene. I think it's from 6 where he takes the sleeping bag and he smashed it against the tree. Then I love when they go back
7.
and he's still just smashing
Yeah.
the other
They just cut
sleeping
in the
bag
middle of
with
it,
the sleep.
And you're just hearing ADR of him swinging these potato sacks around, of girls going like, "Oh no!"
I thought
oh."
that show was pretty funny.
I liked that one too. I'll give him that one, but because it actually felt a little bit like a Friday the 13th movie, even if it was just kind of poking fun at it, and which is not like a bad thing to do necessarily. I'm sorry, Bob. I think I cut you off.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really love that sequence. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like, it's weird to me that like you have actual characters in this movie, multiple sets of characters that are like being physically intimate, and there's no nudity whatsoever. And you have these random like CGI
yes, there is.
Oh, Bob.
character.
Bob.
Well, yeah. Okay, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
They have metal nipples in this
Right,
movie.
yeah, the cyborg yabos. But then I don't know, you've got like these random computer generated characters that are naked. It just felt like kind of out of place, and just for nudity. It was like nudity for nudity's sake, I guess, which you could argue a lot of that is throughout this franchise, but it just felt weirder here to me.
That
for some
scene
reason.
that scene in particular felt like, again, we're in a post-Scream world. Everybody knows these formulas. They know it, and specifically how it's tailored for Friday the 13th. I think it's both self-referential and a little easy at this point to poke fun at itself. It's like Disney writing in Disney jokes in the next Disney movie about, what, you're going to fall in love with the first guy who sings to you or some shit like that. It's like, yeah, you guys started that. You did that. Like, your fans like that.
That scene does feel kind of condescending, reflecting on it now. Because
wait, which scene am I talking about?
This CG characters, the hologram,
the holodeck
scene. Because they are like, oh my god, let's smoke drugs, let's have premarital sex. They do kind of like run down the rules in a Scream way without the care and like thought and analysis that Scream provides. It's just they're doing it because they probably felt like they had to do it. Which is kind of lame. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like, that's another thing is like, this is in space also, not just because I think that saying that it's because of Freddy versus Jason ignores the fact that the last 6 films or some shit didn't give a fuck about the previous film and never bothered dealing with any of the issues from it. They could have easily made another movie in this lineage and had like Jason like fucking shot to the moon and living there at the end, and he would still be at Camp Crystal Lake ready to fight Jason. I don't really think that holds water so much, but they did this. They put him in space because it was a big, insane thing to do with this character, and it breaks the format that everybody is now incredibly privy to. And you know what? Fair enough. They're doing something with it. I mean, I don't necessarily begrudge that. I think the returns are diminishing for me. It just doesn't feel anything like the previous, to the extent where it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a Jason Voorhees movie to me. It's in name only. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't need reverence, but a connective tissue that isn't condescending would be great.
Something that is specific to this movie that we've never seen before, and I think was it not a bad idea. The creation of the Uber Jason, where he gets like reanimated and like he's got the metal mask and he's like the fucking Terminator, basically. Like how did that land for you? Did you like how it looked? Did you like how he acted? Like what'd you feel?
So I didn't really care for it in what it was, but what I did appreciate is they saved it for like the last 10 minutes, because for the most part, it's the Jason that we kind of know and love. He's like rotting, and now he's been like cryo frozen and unfrozen, and he's just strolling around the space station. I'm glad that they didn't like start it out that way, that because they could have easily reanimated him. And see, that's why I kind of like don't go with the whole like necessary like disrespectful thing, is because they keep him Jason for the most part. And yeah, they do. It legit is like the last 10 minutes of the movie that he becomes like Cyber Jason or whatever.
But that also requires him getting his ass beat and his head blown off, which is a cool sequence. Yeah, by a fucking robot who wants titties. And doesn't act anything like a robot.
Yabos, let's be respectful.
He's an
Let's be respectful. Did you say that? I'm sorry. Did you just say that?
Let's be respectful. I kind of dig the idea of it, and I really like the sequence where he's getting his ass beat by the cyborg. Like, it's actually an entertaining sequence, whereas like
it is
the 30 to 40 minutes before that, where there's like this cat and mouse throughout the spaceship, and Jason's like picking people off one by one that you don't even know their names, you don't care about them. That shit's boring as hell. So like when that happens, I was finally like, God damn, something that kind of matters. And she just like blows his legs and arms off. I was like, fuck yes, this is some action. They put
that's
some
the
money
formula
into
breaking
this.
shit that's interesting.
Yeah,
a little bit. But it's also like, this is the whole fucking story is centered around he's an unkillable man. He's a zombie man who can't die. And then canonically, he fucking dies and then is put together.
Not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, he's incapacitated, which he has been, because it took him a while to come out of...
His head is blown off.
Well, I guess that is true.
His whole fucking head is blown off.
I forgot. I remember her like blowing his legs and his arms.
And then the robots don't repair him. They turn him into a cyborg man with a different mask and set of powers.
Uba Jason.
So somehow, I don't know why, all these other dead characters, they can't turn into cyborgs for some reason.
That was one of the notes I made at the beginning. He cuts this kid's arm off and they're like, shit, he cut his arm off. And then some of the grunt, like one of the grunts at least, just has like a slight like cut throat. Like it's not even like like he doesn't decapitate him or whatever. It's just like his throat is cut and he kind of wanders around. I'm like, you can fix a severed arm, but you can't like heal your throat.
And that's the healing magic in this, and it is magic. There's nothing about like they try and say it's nanobots or some shit.
Randy.
Dude, yeah, nanotech doesn't explain why it replaces your arm in one scene and then turns a fully dead headless man into a cyborg Terminator in the next.
Uba Jason.
They just wanted to get cool extreme. They wanted Jason Extreme with just the X. No
Extreme. You also have to remember that this movie was made in the early 2000s, and that
I know, and
era
it means
does not have a good reputation.
No, I don't.
And this movie is one of the prime examples of why. Honestly,
I like my Jason like I like my Doritos Extreme.
And I do like to Justin, to your point, like I do like that they let Jason go about his way for a while. Like I approve of that. And like I don't like how they turned him into Uber Jason, but knowing that they wanted to get there, I'm okay with them doing it, so long as they give the head guy a little bit of leeway to do his thing. And they didn't have to do that, and I do think that is a point for reverence as opposed to irreverence towards the franchise. So for whatever that's worth, I think that's fair to say.
I think Kane Hodder, like I was watching an interview with him when he got the script. He was like extremely reluctant to do this movie because it is so off the beaten path. And he was very adamant about playing the character as straight as he always has and not like taking character of Jason Voorhees and leaning into the comedy himself, because he's the hulking monster throughout the whole movie and he never changes. He is very true to that character with the exception of like the cybernetic Uber Jason, but like he is still like playing the character as straight as he always would have, which I think is great. And if you cannot have Jason Voorhees dropping one-liners like fucking Freddy Krueger or some shit, that would never ever fly. So at least
but they could make him stupider even without speaking, and thank God they hired Kane on this one, because honestly, like if Kane hadn't signed on to this, there's a very real chance that without the being encumbered by his sense of duty to the character, that they could have hired any jack off on the street like they did with half these people, just any stunt dude, who, doesn't care and just like maybe they see it as a space movie, So thank God Kane's here, because otherwise there's a real chance of veering off course for the characters just method of being. You know what I mean? His entire core of just like not entire, like low functioning, low brain power, but desire to kill and like completely unstoppable nature. Like you could do all that and fuck it up with an actor who isn't reverent towards what Jason does and how he does it. Yeah. So good for them on that point.
They could have gone full Ghostface and had him like slipping and sliding around, tripping over furniture and shit.
God.
Dude, they could have gone full. They could have hired fucking, I don't know. They could have gotten Horatio Sands in this fucking outfit. They could have done anything because they, like, to me, it's clear that they didn't mind doing anything to make it seem like not the movie Scream made fun of.
How did the teacher die? Do you guys remember how the teacher died?
He gets stabbed in the back with a machete.
Does he just in the back?
As he's like, he just wanted his machete back, and then he gets stabbed.
Okay.
With the machete.
Yeah, that was really dumb.
Big laugh. Roll.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. The characters are pretty forgettable. It's difficult for me to remember just about anybody's name in this movie. Or like even begin to describe the character. The cyborg stands out the most because there's only one cyborg, and like her nipples fall off.
She kills Jason.
She gets an upgrade and kills Jason. So like she actually has shit going on.
I would say the cyborg is memorable. I would say that the grunt is memorable because he actually kind of like stands up against Jason, which a lot of movies try to have somebody who can like go toe to toe with Jason. And even though this guy gets his ass beat over and over again, he's like that kind of guy. The shit eating teacher is memorable. And then I wish they had given this guy a little bit more, but I thought with what he had to do, he kind of capture the screen. It's the pilot with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
who doesn't really interact with anybody else.
I'm so lonely. I like that line. That was a good line.
He's he's in Happy Gilmore, is that right? It's either that or Billy Madison.
I don't know. He's in Dawn of the Dead, the remake, the Zack Snyder remake. That's what I recognize.
I like that guy. I have no idea what his name is, but I like that actor.
I'll look it up.
What? He's in one of the Happy Gilmore situations. He's in there. He's one of them. It doesn't really.
Do you guys?
Boyd Banks is his name.
Boyd Banks.
He was in Dawn of the Dead. He was in Black Sheep. He was in Land of the Dead.
Black Sheep.
There it is.
Yeah, I don't remember him in that. But I'm sure that's. I'll tell you what. Also, I looked up the lead actress, like sort of the one from the past, the research facility. Rob, you've been watching the Chucky TV series, right?
Yeah.
She's in that as somebody called Bree Wheeler. Does that ring a bell for you?
Cheese Wheel, you say? No, that name does not.
Bree Wheeler. B-R-E-E.
It's a bad joke. What's the actress's name?
Her name is Lexi Doig.
Oh, okay. No shit. That's the same person.
Or Lexa Doig, excuse me.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
She's a major player in that show.
She takes everything in real stride.
Yeah.
That character. She's like, wow, it's 450 years in the future.
All right.
Oh, boy.
We got to get Jason.
It's like, you really think he's dead? Like, you researched this guy in a facility where he killed everyone, including you. You're not you're not having cold sweats or some shit. Come on. Write this character some reality.
She does tell him, she's like, no, he's unkillable. You literally cannot kill him. And they just don't.
She does, but she's very not adamant and very not consistent with her. She's just sort of like, are you sure? A few times she's like, are you sure? It's like, you need to be running the show. You have the opportunity to be Sidney Prescott right now, and you are fucking up.
Randy. I mean,
I know, but she's the only one who knows Jason Voorhees.
Do you guys remember that show from the 90s called Space Cases?
Yes.
No.
This set kind of remind me of that. Yeah, the Snick show.
The sets look like space cases, or at least one of the lesser Stargates, and it makes perfect sense because a lot of these actors from this IMDb thing that I'm going on are from other shows of the time that were like ripoffs of that. Like Andromeda is a show that was in this vein that a lot of these characters or actors are in. Let's see. There's all those, and then there's one guy who's a stunt guy who was in Good Will Hunting. So good for him.
Bob, in the trivia, did they have a bunch of like the space references that they make?
No, I didn't see a list of that anywhere.
Really? Okay. So the ones I picked up on is Solaris is a really big like space movie from the 70s. I think it's a Russian horror film. It's like one of the few like Russian horror films I've seen, which I guess it was Soviet film, I guess, but it's really good. So that's the name. Like it's a spaceship kind of like situation, and it's called Solaris. Like you said before, the Doom, the BFG gun is mentioned in here. There was like a little predator in a jar. Did y'all see that little predator monster or whatever?
Predator? I missed it.
It kind of looked like a little predator monster.
I could see it being like an off-brand reference, if that's
what I kind of thought it was supposed to be. And then I thought there was another one. Oh, then I said it kind of looks like Space Cases, which I don't know if that was intentional or not.
You know what's interesting to me is that there's no over 450 years there was just no inflation, because they're still talking about $100,000, $500,000.
The credits, Randy. You don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they've transferred to credits.
Earth Deuce credits.
Have you ever heard of credit? Probably not. It's very futuristic. This movie looked to me like it was like setting up to be a softcore porn version of like Star Trek or something. It's like just low budget. And like
that's fair. Yeah,
no chance that you don't know. And then Jason's got a huge cybernetic dick or some shit. Like it's,
there's no chance that these sets weren't used for at least another show of some low budget show.
Yeah,
and set in space or I don't know, underwater or some sea lab, like some shit like that. But it could easily be a porn set. Absolutely.
And this future space clothes, I mean, that's all the.
So futuristic.
The space. They're space clothes because you see a lot of almost yabos, but all the men are fully covered.
Fully.
Just like the future.
Jason's got an uber erection.
Bob.
I've always been a creeper.
Bob over there. That's perfect, though.
Fantastic.
Like Bob. The kudzu that's strangling our Dixie.
These references are only landing for 1% of the people listening to this right now.
Well, they are the best fans, so that's all that matters.
King of the Hill.
With us. What can we say?
King of the Hill references. Are there any other points you guys want to make before we rate Jason X?
Let me check.
Check.
Jason ends up in another crystal lake at the end of this movie.
Yeah. I really
would check it out.
I would watch a Jason vs. Predator sequel going off of Jason X. That would be dope.
Yeah.
I would watch it.
Do it.
Same.
If it was made today, it would certainly have, I think, a better chance of being quality.
Jason's wandering around the woods. The Predator's also there trying to get his prey, and Jason's fucking up his prey because that's the whole Predator thing. Is it's like it's got to kill the biggest predator on the planet, but now Jason's there, and the Predator can't kill Jason or whatever. And so that's the conflict. I just wrote it. Boom.
Wow, you got away with writing, buddy.
I just wrote it.
Wow.
Tight.
Well,
let's get funding for this.
I'm okay with like putting Jason in all kinds of crazy situations or whatever. I'm okay with that, like comedically or whatever. I just don't know that this movie particularly does it well, to be honest. Like it commits, but it doesn't land for me.
Same.
Am I already reviewing it? I'm already reviewing
You are.
it.
You're doing the thing that I asked if we were ready to do. The answer is yes, we are now ready to do it. Tight. Juice, kick us off. Out of 5, how do you feel about Jason X?
Okay, so I do not think this is one of the good Friday the 13th films. So like I have tier rankings of like, these are the good films you should watch. This is not in that tier. But what I do think this is out of this franchise that really kind of stumbles and loses its way and like doesn't really know what to do anymore. Like do we want to be all about Jason Voorhees? Do we want to be all about Camp Crystal Lake? And when they take the Jason Voorhees route, I like the idea of like, well, let's just put this character who can't even speak and really is just all about slowly walking and just defeating you no matter what in crazy situations. And in that, premise, I really respect that they went full force after the past like 3 movies, promised you something and could not. And it's ridiculous and it's stupid and it's bad. But it's, to me, it was entertaining in its stupidness. And I like really enjoyed how ridiculous it was, because they gave me exactly what they promised, which was Jason in space. And seeing that was as stupid as you would think it would be, but it was also entertaining to me. Dude, the robot Yabos like killed me when those nipples slipped off. I thought that was so ridiculous. Like, just, I guess that's the thing, is like they start with ridiculousness and then they just give you a bunch of ridiculousness. And so I was like, at least they are delivering on what everything is constantly setting up, is this is going to be stupid and ridiculous. And every part of it pretty much is. And so I was okay with that. Like I said before, when Solaris like exploded and they're like, oh, we'll just turn on, go back. Like, for some reason that like really landed with me. I thought that was really funny. I thought that there was some I really liked the drill kill scene, and I thought there was a lot of missed potential for Jason to kill all the grunts in like crazy ways like that. Unfortunately, like that's the most memorable one. I did also like the when he stabbed the main grunt in the back, and he's like, it's gonna take more for you to kill this old Papa Bear or whatever. But then he immediately just gets stuck again. He's like, oh, that'll do. I don't know. I like this kind of personality. It was funny to me, in a very, very stupid way, of course. I liked seeing a bunch of kind of little like space horror references. Damn, there's a lot of bad in this too. I mean, like not even like good bad stuff, but like those aliens, like CGI things, and the CGI in that like game simulator, that whole sequence was really, really bad. It looked really bad. And then, yeah, it is a shame that a bunch of the kills are done kind of like off screen. I was really entertained by this simulation of Camp Crystal Lake. I thought that was pretty funny. And I was okay, but it didn't do a whole lot for me of him being turned into this like hulking Uber Jason or whatever. It's whatever. I'm just really glad that they didn't do it like much earlier in the film, because that would have looked stupid, I think. I like the idea of the robot like blowing his arms off and legs. That was entertaining to me. So overall I had a lot of fun watching this, but it's not good by any means. So I'm going to give it a 2+ a half star for the robot Yabos. I'm giving them that shit cracked me up. So 2.5 for me.
2.5 from Juice. All right.
Yeah, Bob, kick us off. Jason Sex. What are you giving it?
Jason XXX. I don't like this movie. You know what the
kill count of that movie is?
30.
69 dudes!
69 dudes.
It's really loud.
You're
welcome.
This does set up and deliver on the premise, but it delivers on the premise in a way that I don't find particularly like funny or very interesting most of the time. It tries to lean into the comedy, but the comedy mostly doesn't land for me outside of a couple of the jokes, like them outlawing hockey. I thought was really funny. In that brief like second or two where you see Jason flying through space at the ship, it's like just so ridiculous that it does land for me. But like, man, there's not a whole lot else outside of that really works as far as the comedy goes. The frozen head smash and the first machete kill really stand out as far as the kills, but other than those, like not a whole lot really stand out for me. The cyborg like battle sequence is probably the most entertaining sequence of the movie. I dig that, but there's this like just giant void in the middle of this movie that's, I don't know, 45 minutes long or something. It's just like nothing is really happening, and I am struggling to really focus and pay attention on the movie. The CGI is just like really bad in this movie. It doesn't age well. I think the music, the score is like this weird, like rock based, like almost like it's out of a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog video game or something. Like it just does not.
That music's good.
Well, I guess my point is it feels like it doesn't really belong in a Friday the 13th movie. Even like one based in space. It just feels like totally off the wall, like out of nowhere. I don't dig it. I think the idea of an Uber Jason is cool, but I don't like the look and design of him in this movie. And I think when he does show up, he almost doesn't do anything. Like, I would rather have, like, the stereotypical look of Jason Voorhees in this movie, but if you're gonna, like, upgrade him, like, have him, like, you know, fucking do something crazy. Like, I think he punches a hole in the wall. I don't even know that he, like, really kills anybody, like, with his hands or...
I think the robot, maybe.
He punches her head off.
He rips her head off. He punches her head off, yeah.
Yes, but I don't know. Like, I just wanted more out of it, I guess. It didn't really, like... It didn't look cool, and he didn't do much. The CG Camp Crystal Lake thing didn't really land for me because it's like, you know, this is what you really came for. Here's a couple minutes of it, and I don't know. It felt kind of cheap and lame. There are just like almost no characters to speak of in this movie. They're just like poorly written. There's just like nothing that's super interesting to me in this movie. But I do really like saying Uber Jason. So for that, I'll give it a 1 star. Randy?
A solid 1 star?
Solid 1 star.
Wow.
From your boy, Bob.
How did you feel about those Robo-Yabos, Bob?
It was not funny to me.
It wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny.
I thought that show was hilarious.
Sorry. I wish I did.
But you had a problem, like, well, no, I guess that was you, Rob, that said you had a problem with the absolutely self-aware Yabo inclusion. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Well, yeah. So my feelings for this movie are pretty well out there at this point. I kind of feel like I've been listening to this and I want to make it clear that like, I want to see what Justin sees in this movie. I really did. I wanted this movie to blow my hair back in all the wrong ways, the way that like, you know, I get that sort of feeling watching Sleepaway Camp or whatever. But again, it kind of rubs up against the time old thing for me. The differentiator is at least partially that it's a lot easier for that kind of stupidness to land for me when it feels like an honest fuck up and not like a self-aware, you know, jab at itself or whatever, or just like a lack of regard for what you're making. That's kind of what I get out of this. And, you know, that can work too, though. I want to point that out. Like we talk about like Friday the 13th part 6 is one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite, Jason Voorhees one. And it's very silly and stupid. But the thing about it is that it's silly and stupid in a way that feels like it comes from like some punk rock kids. Like it feels like it comes from a place of love for the franchise. It's just like, now we're going to let Jason go fucking crazy. He's a zombie man now. He cannot die. We're done explaining shit. We're just doing this. And then they just like make this. And so like all those jokes feel fresh. It's pre-Scream. It's pre-self-awareness, or at least on that level that we get from Scream and New Nightmare and all those other movies later on down the line. And it's also taking that idea to dumb extremes like worms that infect people and, you know, go into space. Right? To me, this feels like a corporate. Feels like irreverent in a corporate way, not a punk rock way. Does that make sense? This feels like it's only irreverent to get the butts and seats instead of irreverent because they don't have oversight from somebody. Yeah. That's how it feels to me. And I don't like that feeling. It just doesn't work for me. Like Rob said, the characters are nothing characters. There's a lot of like care taken for certain kills and certain shots, but then they'll just completely blow off half of the other ones just for the sake of getting the kill count up. Like, I don't know, man. I also don't buy the excuse that it's in order to preserve the sanctity of Freddy versus Jason, a movie that we know now was still being rewritten basically at the time they were making it. Like, I don't think that they didn't care about the sanctity, or like they retcon everything in that movie anyway. They retcon everything in every Jason movie from 6 on at least. So I don't see that as a good reason for that. And the comedy doesn't land for me. It's filled with like the cheapest sets imaginable, actors who are clearly just stuntmen and or models and non-actors in some cases. It just doesn't really land for me. I did not like the robot nipples. It just felt like an egregious thing that somebody like thought was hilarious. And I'd say partially coupled with something I'll get to with Cooter of the Week, but I'll save that. All that said, what's interesting is that I kind of land in the same spot numerically as Justin, at least pre-Yabo score. Because to me, this is a 2-star film. It can definitely get lower than this. This is far from the worst, both in quality and in entertainment value. I would say it's a middle of the pack Jason movie, which is a significant increase in my feeling towards it from the first time I saw it. So I'll give it that feather in its cap. I think that it does take a big swing. It just feels like it's a big swing for reasons that don't feel like they come from a place of love for the franchise to me. So that's where I'm at, I think.
All right. With a deuce from Randu, that's going to put our aggregate at a 1.8. Let's jump into our Rotten
we
Tomatoes.
almost got over the 2 average.
That's more than fair. Let's jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment.
Certified.
Randy, whatever. Do what you want. Go for
Sweet.
it.
All right. This is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate users and critics score for Jason X are on RottenTomatoes.com. So what we have here is a entry that has 108 critic reviews, and we're going to start with the critics. Bob, why don't you let us know? Why don't you get us going here? Out of those 108 reviews, what percentage would you say were positive reviews?
Let me get you going here real quick. I think it's going to be low. This is in no way a critical darling whatsoever.
It's got a death curse.
I'll take our score. I'll go with a 36, please.
36. All right. Juice, how about you?
I think it's probably going to be lower than that. I would be curious to see how all of like the Friday the 13th like kind of stack up on Rotten Tomatoes. I wonder how low it really goes, but I think this one's probably going to be low. 36. I'm going to say 25.
25. All right. Well, Juice, your instincts were correct, but not correct enough. It's 19%.
Damn. See, I told you we're too high.
Yeah,
dude, it's got to go lower than that. There's got to be some Friday the 13th.
I don't know.
Lower than
I think that when this movie dropped,
Damn.
it was in a primed in particular place and time in the franchise and in moviedom, horror movies and general slashers, that it probably got the rawest deal of them all.
I'm gonna look up Jason Takes Manhattan. Is that all right?
Yeah, do. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. All right. Now we are going to go over to the audience score. There are over 50,000 audience ratings for this film. So, Bob, why don't you start us off since Juice is doing that? What do you think that the audience gave this movie? What percentage is positive?
I would think it's higher than the critics, but it's still not going to be very high. I'll just go with a 28%.
28%. Okay. Soju, where are you going to go?
Yeah, that's a tough spot. 28. I think I can go higher. I'll say 30.
30.
Just 30? 30.
30. Just 30. I was going to say 32, but I
Jason Voorhees has roamed the earth.
At least with 30, I could potentially get a tie with Bob. So I was like, I don't go too high. So I'll go 30.
Well, spoiler alert, you did not tie. And in fact, you did not win. Bob's going to take this one. It is 25%.
Damn.
Yeah. 25%.
Damn. Split, though. Hell yeet. For me. All right.
Critics' consensus reads as follows. Jason goes to the future, but the story is still stuck in the past. That's somebody really wanted to make a future past thing there. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Wow.
So I will say that Jason, I don't want to ruin it in case we ever do cover Jason Takes Manhattan, but Jason Takes Manhattan is lower on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
It should be.
Okay.
It should
be.
be.
Should be. Huh. There, let's read us a negative review and see if it's any fun. The supposedly new, improved, futuristic Jason is just the same guy with a hipper hockey mask. Thumbs down. No, Richard Roper. No, it's not hipper. Hipper? Is that a word?
No.
More hip seems right.
I'll Also,
You're
it's not
right.
even a hockey mask.
It's not a hockey mask.
Uber mask.
And him being the same guy is perhaps the only saving grace. Okay, let's read another one here. By now, despite the 9 years since the last Friday the 13th sequel, Jason and his hockey mask are as predictable as a franchise as McDonald's, maybe then period. Moviegoers know what they're going to get. I mean, I think that's semi-fair. I mean, they like we said, it takes big swings in terms of like the setting or whatever. But I guess it's fair to say that, it's just following the rubric in space. So
yeah, it is.
For the most part.
I think so.
Not capably, in my opinion, but it tries. All right, so that's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Congratulations to both of you for your split. Let's move it on down.
I looked it up. Jason Goes to Hell, also lower.
Deservedly. I would say that that's the right order for me.
I might disagree with that, but I mean, neither one of them's great. Let's be clear.
I don't want to watch any of these movies, but I'll watch this one again with you guys, and hope to God that it gives me some better returns.
Well, there's some better movies we can watch.
No, apparently
in our limited time together.
Let's go ahead and talk about some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
When everyone comes to Seoul, all we're going to do is just watch Jason X.
Oh my God. Over and over.
That's how we're going to spend our time.
Worth the cost of admission for sure.
Oh yeah.
I've got
taking this multi-$1,000 flight to go watch Jason X on repeat.
But in Seoul.
That's the big difference.
Somebody's got to do it, apparently.
I've got a few extra little trivia points that I didn't mention throughout our discussion here. This movie only suffered a couple seconds worth of cuts and alterations to earn an R rating, which makes it the least censored entry in the Friday the 13th series. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think the rules were a little more solid by the time we hit the 2000s.
They didn't have to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they didn't have to fight the MPAA too much. Once again, just like with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, New Line Cinema was unable to legally include Friday the 13th in the film's title because Paramount still owned the trademark. So that's why we got these Jason movies here later on.
I see.
Purely and simply evil.
This was also the first film in the Friday the 13th series to rely on digital effects for death and gore sequences, which were not great.
Jason Goes to Hell didn't have any digitals. That worm was digital.
That was digital.
I forgot
for
about
sure.
that
Or maybe it was an
worm.
in-camera thing. I guess it's possible that it's in camera.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what it
Or
looks
not in
like
camera,
clearly enough to...
Like matte painting, maybe. I think I could see that being either way. It kind of, in my memory, it's like somewhere between the Ghostbusters blasting Gozer and modern CGI.
Yeah, that was early. That was like 1993.
93?
I don't know if they were doing much CG.
Maybe not. Okay. Either way, it all looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, the worm doesn't look great. This movie is apparently included on Roger Ebert's most hated list, which...
Wow.
Whatever.
Whoa. I mean, huh?
Whoa.
What?
Whoa. You
Huh?
didn't like the 10th Friday the 13th franchise entry?
What a stuck-up bastard. David...
You old Ebert bitch.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
David
You Cooter queen.
David Cronenberger's cameo was done as a favor to his former protege, the director Jim Isaac, for loaning his Canadian-based production crew to him. In exchange, he wanted to get killed on screen. So that's why we get Cronenberg at the beginning of the movie here.
I did not clock him. For some reason, I just
I didn't
cannot
either.
keep that man's face and name together in my brain.
You gotta clock the Berg.
Man, I love me some Cronenberg, but that man is not an actor.
No, he's not. The last bit
Which
I
puts him-
have here is the sleeping bag death scene was first done in Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, and was actually ad-libbed by Kane Hodder in that film out of frustration at reshooting the same scene over and over again, which is really cool, I think. You're like, way to go, Kane. Really nailed that one.
Kane got, like, low-key birthing, like, the best kill in the franchise.
Yeah.
You just got to piss him off, and then he makes gold, I guess.
I would say this head smash. Is like probably within top tier kills in the franchise.
Which head smash?
The frozen head smash.
I think it's a pretty good. I mean, yeah, you're not going to see that one replicated many places, so you get some cred.
There you go. There you go, Jason X.
It's the best one in this movie, that's for sure.
It's definitely the best one in this movie. Yeah.
That's all I got for trivia. Let's talk Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the Week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, and we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I think we got a couple of potential cooters this week.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason X. Who do we want to go with first?
I feel a little bit strongly about one, but I don't think it's going to be an obvious choice for everyone because I think it might be
my second tier cooter that I'm thinking. Are you talking about the guy who makes the robot?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That guy is low key a cooter candidate. Let's just go into it because we've already brought it up. Okay, Satchmo, calm down.
So I was thinking he was my number 2.
I mean, okay, let's run them down the list. Let's just go ahead and do it. Before we do that, I want to point out, to me, the thing about this character that rubs me wrong is that it's a couple things. He is kind of like an incel, wet dream, self-insert Mary Sue, nice Mr. Nice Guy sort of character, and that shit is fucking creepy to me. It's like the person who wrote this movie wanted to write themselves surviving this movie. And so they wanted to be seem like the nice one that wasn't going to be, oh, I'm not going to try and sleep with you. Oh, I'm not going to sleep with a robot. I love you for who you are, babe.
I've always been a creeper.
That's the shit.
You're calling out Todd Farmer. What is it cool if he ats you after he listens to this show?
Sure.
Randy Gandy G Landy on Twitter.
It would 69. Be fair. I mean, there are plenty of things that anybody could throw at me. I'm not a hard target to hit myself, so whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking him. I was I would give him some sexual deviance because he makes a sex robot.
Like he's clearly
he won't sleep with it because he's the hyper empowered by his asexuality or whatever. His ability to say no to women.
He's the dude from Ex Machina. He's fucking that thing all the time, for sure.
Oh no, I think he feels himself. Honestly, I'm really. This is why I said didn't think anybody would like be on the level I am with this character because I really extrapolate what I see in this guy into other realms. It's
Randy's
not
just
really
projecting.
fair, but I'm projecting my dislike of certain modes of thinking. Yes, which is it's a Cooter of the Week segment.
Yeah, I think he could hit patheticness.
I think pathetic. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So maybe sexual deviance and patheticness.
Yeah. I think he would definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say something like the Yabo scene in specific, where like the nipples fall off, and he's like, "Why do you even want these?" It's like, did you make a robot with no nipples? Like, why'd you even make it a woman then?
With
breasts, like, you know what I'm saying?
no
like,
nipples.
yeah, I would know.
Yeah,
you
made it as feminine as possible, except for the
and
nipples.
then didn't give it
You're
nipples.
weird. I'm fine.
dude. Yeah, exactly. The thing about it that drives me nuts is it's like this feeling that, he's like, babe, you're just perfect the way you are. I would never objectify you. Don't you want to sleep with me later? And then they make out at the end and fall in love. Yeah, that is an incel wet dream. That is what that is.
Also, you can make a robot. He gives an upgrade to this robot so that she can defeat Jason, but you can't make nipples that stick on properly.
Oh, he made a boost.
They're magnets.
He gave her a lot of pleather, really tight pleather. Yeah. Definitely banging that robot for sure.
Oh, yeah. So we could say, do you think he manipulates the robot then? Can you manipulate a robot?
Well, he definitely doesn't put the nip in manipulate.
The thing is, like, she's the one asking for this, and that's also part of, like, from a writing standpoint, part of the creeperness for me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're so pure. You just, you don't see it as anything but wanting what you want. And I'm not like the other men who's going to take advantage of you. Because,
I love Randy's incel obsession.
Oh, man.
There's something there. Something's going on there. The deeper story that we'll get to eventually.
The deeper story? I assure you, it goes only as deep as those fucking
Randy's fan fiction for this movie.
It just rubs me wrong.
Randu.
Yeah, so I think like manipulation is kind of tough to sell from the internal logic of the movie, whatever there is in this. But I would say that sexual deviancy, certainly, I think that he's a Mr. Nice Guy.
I think he's maybe Cooter light.
Yeah, and patheticness, certainly. Smug arrogance, no, because he is pathologically pure and wise, and the guy who's never done anything wrong and never gets the girl until he gets the girl.
Yeah,
he's writing his own story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
He's also got that kind of like
Cooter vibe from him.
That kind of like stereotypical like wiener kind of vibe. He's
a wiener.
the smart guy, but like nobody really appreciates him.
Exactly.
But he's the hero in the end because you guys didn't see my potential.
Yes, exactly. It's every nerd in high school who can't get laid's excuse for not getting laid is that they're too smart. I'm too smart. They're intimidated. People are intimidated by me and my intelligence and my knowledge of Dragon Ball Z characters. So
I think you got someone specific in mind, Randy.
I really don't. I like Dragon Ball Z.
I see.
I just know the type, man. I've seen it.
Randy's calling you out. We just lost a ton of listeners.
Yeah, no, we didn't. If we did, if they're offended by that, after the years of what we've been saying, then I am shocked they made it this far.
I'd like to apologize to all the incels. We got a big incel crowd out there, so sorry on behalf of Randu. For him calling.
I gotta take a dump.
I've always been a creep. Oh gosh!
I don't
let's
know about
jump into the next Cooter.
You guys are the ones with the other options.
It's the professor, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's written to be the Cooter for sure.
For sure. So he is.
He's banging his students. He doesn't listen to anybody. He's arrogant as
He's in it for the money.
Everybody dies because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So arrogance, manipulation, sexual deviance.
Yeah, manipulation for money, manipulation for sex, arrogance for money, arrogance for sex.
Pathetic
because he and also he's just like he's not making it, but he wants the respect, but he's like broke apparently, and I don't know what he really does. Deal is, but
a combo of sexual deviancy and look and attire can be found in, at least from the writing perspective, it's clear they're trying to make him like, I don't know, more loathsome by giving him uncharacteristic deviant sexual tendencies, like wearing a woman's negligee and getting his nipples twisted. I was even thinking about when he unfreezes our main character and she's like, how do you even
you know, how do you even give thanks to someone who brings you back to life? And he's like, I'm sure we'll find a way eventually. It's
God damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the worst thing that a person could say right now? Because I want this guy to be irredeemably prickish.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like the writing of this movie is pretty cootery.
All points.
It's not great.
Yeah, I think he hits all points, right?
Yeah. We got a cooter. We got a certified cooter of the week. It's the professor. What's his name? Nobody knows because it doesn't matter.
Professor X.
Professor X.
All the characters in this movie's last name is just X.
Cyborg.
Monica
Robot
X.
guy
X. Pilot X.
Grunt X.
Lead
Goober.
girl X.
Uber Goober.
X.
Uber Goober. Oh no, it's the Uber Goober.
You don't need nipples, I swear it.
Yeah. Robot
I swear.
X.
It's the Uber Goober.
What are we doing?
Gotta watch out for the Uber Goober. He'll get you. He'll get you.
Yo, God.
We just had a rant about a goober, so let's move on.
I got
So I think we should live in this moment for a lot longer.
Let's milk this for all it's worth.
Yeah.
I got goobed. That's
We's a little juice.
we got our cooter of the week. Let's go ahead and let our hair down, relax a little bit, and talk about what we've been watching.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Randy is tired of my ass talking. It is very clear.
Now it's
damn.
clear that Randy's not fucking up. He's regulating.
Yeah. Randy's steamrolling Randy.
I'm the timekeeper, bish.
Oh boy, you know you're going last. Juice, what you been watching?
Nah.
Don't punish me by making me go last.
Punish.
I've been watching a few things. I watched new Doctor Strange, the new Marvel movie. You know, you all saw it.
Physician Unusual?
Huh?
Physician Unusual?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine. It was pretty good, I guess. But directed by Sam Raimi, which is kind of like the big kind of interesting thing here. You know, he did some Spider-Man films back in the day, but this is like kind of interesting. And then it's like Marvel kind of dipping its toe in the horror realm a little bit. It's definitely like Sam Raimi vibes with like how like kind of goofy some of it can get, but also like kind of how, I don't know, just the way certain things look or operate in certain ways. It's got a pretty cool Raimi feel within the realm of Marvel. Like it's not like this pure like Raimi kind of deal, but it's got some of those elements in there, which is kind of cool to see. Gives it a little uniqueness, but it was pretty good. I watched a movie called You Won't Be Alone, which was a very interesting film. It came out I think officially in April. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a sneaky good watch for Mother's Day that just passed. But it's very slow. And it uses this like extinct language or Macedonian language, but it's not even I was trying to like do some research. It's not like a foreign film, I don't think, but it's spoken in this like language, and it's kind of like a period piece, but in this undisclosed kind of location in like the middle of this kind of like wilderness. It's very particular, but very, very well done. I really enjoyed it. But it's not a blanket recommend for everyone, because it's a very particular kind of film, but I really enjoyed it. And it was like I think the like most unique movie I've seen this year. It's horror. It's witch based. It's based on witch lore. But it's like a very interesting, unique take on that. And, so I watched that and really enjoyed it. And if you're still in that kind of Mother's Day vibe, it's kind of like a sneaky kind of mother themed.
What's that title again?
You Won't Be Alone.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're looking for some new movies that's kind of different and interesting, I would recommend you check that out. What else? I'm almost done with The Good Place. I've got like 4 episodes left, I think. So next week I can give my overall opinion on that, how it ended. Let's see what else. I feel like I just watched Jason X again, I guess. Is that all I've been watching? Yeah, I guess. Getting ready for final, so I guess I don't have much time. That's it. Boys, Rob, what you been watching?
You know, Randy, I'll let you go next, but I hope you learn your lesson.
Bob's saving for something.
I've always been a creeper.
Always been a creeper.
Fine, I'll go next. Bob has something he wants. Bob just wants something to say at the end here.
Rob's got something.
It's fine. I'll hit this Hotline Scream bump on time for you, Bob. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to watch a lot this week. I watched the first episode of We Own This City, which Bob, you brought up last week.
Yeah,
the David Simon show. It's very good so far, and I can see I like that it's definitely feels kind of like The Wire, but visually it's a totally different sort of like camera work style. I think it's a lot more like sophisticated in terms of that stuff. A lot less still shots and slow pans. Or at least it seems that way to me. I don't know. We'll see. The acting on it is pretty good so far. There's a lot of familiar faces. And it's good that I to have The Wire fandom as a primer, because I don't, while I'm still getting to know all these characters, I kind of know their place in the big scheme of the city, which is nice. So yeah, I'm enjoying that so far. Just 1 episode down on that. I'm just finished up the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time.
Ooh, that's a good one. Horror themed.
Yeah, and I can't help but feel like maybe the Shadow Temple and Spirit Temple were meant to be in the opposite order at one point. I feel like that was supposed to be the last one.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why I think that, but that go into a level of detail we don't need to go into right now.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying the fuck out of it. I've got
but you haven't played the Spirit Temple yet then, if you just finished the Shadow Temple?
Just in this, I'm in the lead up to it, like I've gotten to it. And just some of the way that they like the story phrases things as you're getting there and things like that. I don't know.
I love the Shadow Temple and like the horror, and not just that. When you go under the well, when you got to get the bottom of the well, the Shadow Temple. Yeah, it's some like horrific stuff for Zelda. It's scary.
Absolutely scary shit, especially in that proto 3D.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm enjoying that quite a bit. Still, it's still probably my favorite game ever, I think. And then last, I also viewed Physician Unusual, and I liked it quite a bit. I definitely liked the raininess.
It took me a second. I was like, wait, what? Doctor Strange.
I mean, it's a little overloaded, like visually. Like, there's definitely a few times where it's like
the colors, Duke, the colors.
And I don't know that like I could blame anybody for being overwhelmed by this movie visually.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of Raimi hallmarks in this thing. I don't want to spoil too much, but whereas like No Way Home, for example, like definitely like the success of that movie to me was largely based on the nostalgia of the day. This movie kind of plays into that, but not really. Like it definitely plays into some fan service stuff, but it doesn't feel like it does to me in the same way. This just really feels like a dark comic book tale to me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it quite a bit, and there's one thing that happens towards the end that's just incredible to me, and I really loved. I just can't really say anything or I'll spoil it. So just suffice it to say that there's some cool shit in this movie. It's not perfect, but it is up there for me. I think it's one of my most loved of recent years from Marvel, and I'm not the world's biggest Marvel apologist, so it's hit or miss for me. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. That's the end of what you've been watching. Like I said, there's not much to it this week for me.
Bear, you can go now.
Thank you. I'll roll off Randy's endpoint there, because I also saw Doctor Strange Mange.
What? We could cover this. We've all seen it.
Huh.
Veto.
That shit was...
Everyone gets one.
It was dope. I honestly wasn't super excited to watch it. Most Marvel movies don't really pique my interest, but I was pleasantly surprised by the end of it. It definitely has Raimi's funk rubbed all over it, which is a positive for me. It definitely dips its toe in the horror realm. It's got some spooky vibes here and there. And I just overall had a really great time with it. It's probably one of my favorite Marvel movies to date. And thank you, Sam Raimi. I saw a little blurb. Someone was asking him what he wanted to do next, and he's like, I don't know, maybe a nice little horror movie would be good. So that would, we'll see. We'll see.
That would be good.
That'd be tight. Did enjoy that for sure. I've also heard a lot of people sort of not responding to the Sam Raimi-ness of it positively, not really, I guess, being taken aback by it a little bit. You might not be super familiar with his tone or think he's, I don't know, just gonna
or just not like it.
Turn out another Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Or just not like it. Yeah.
I love Raimi. I mean, he's a lot of his shit is really hokey. In this movie, that's the case, but it's hokey in a way that's I just love. It's not it's unaware that it's hokey. It just kind of leans in. It's this is what a movie is like. You just lean into the the drama of any stupid situation as if it's just as sincerely serious as it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good shit. I dug it quite a bit. I've also been working through the History of Horror Season 3 that just hit Shudder last week. This is Eli Roth's pet project kind of thing where he talks about the history of horror. I think there's 6 episodes in this 3rd season. And each episode he tackles kind of a subgenre. One of them's sequels that don't suck. He talks about psychics, holiday horror, stuff like that. It's light. It's, if you're a horror head, more often than not, you're probably going to be familiar with the stuff that he's talking about. But also, he threw a few titles out there that I never heard before. One of them was a Sam Raimi movie called The Gift that I just am completely unfamiliar with. It was on the Psychics episode. It's got a psychic character in it. It really intrigued me, especially after watching, a brand new Sam Raimi movie. So I want to go back and check that out sometime in the near future. I've been digging that quite a bit. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. The History of Horror on Shudder. The last thing I want to mention is this bizarre documentary that I put on about G.G. Allen that's called All in the Family. I watched this last night.
She licked my asshole a little bit.
Something like it, man.
I saw you guys talking about this on Slack, and I was not familiar with this person. I was like, "What is happening,
man?"
Ooh, buddy, you got it. You know the Emotron, right?
Oh yeah,
times 10.
We all know.
We've all been there.
That's a reference that I don't think very many people are going to get.
Probably not. So this documentary is on Tubi for free. That's why I watched it. If you're unfamiliar with G.G. Allen, he was a musical artiste that sort of started around the late 70s and worked through the 80s and into the early 90s. He was a punk rock musician. He was in several bands, actually, but I think the one that he's probably most known for are the Murder Junkies. That's sort of where I think he became really not popular. I guess just well known. He is sort of known for being pretty bombastic on stage. Oftentimes would perform naked. He would, piss and shit on stage and throw his feces.
We're going to get arrested. What the fuck?
He would get in fights with the crowd, almost at every show, just completely off the rails, insane nonsense. And they talk quite a bit about his career and his undoing, and him going to jail. And the way this documentary is sort of framed, it's called All in the Family. It's sort of framed they primarily interview his brother, who was in the band with him, and his mother, and they sort of just reflect on being related to G.G. Allen and life with him and shit like that. And his brother is still touring with the band. They got a new singer, and I guess they're still going on tour and stuff. And Dude, their drummer is the original drummer. This blew my mind. I couldn't believe you can watch this happen on the fucking documentary. This drummer, he's got to be in his 60s now. And he used to play naked back in the day and just still does. He's butt ass naked behind the drums playing. And like he has people come up from the audience and like lube up drumsticks and stick them up his ass. This man is in his 60s.
Every night?
I don't know if it's every night, but they had...
It's a loose butthole.
Dude, it was two of them.
Oh,
and
God,
it was,
yes, come with me.
It was two sticks at the same time, and it was the fat end first. I'm not kidding.
So right.
I am not kidding.
I think you're kidding, Bob. I don't believe you.
Dude, that shit.
The fat end?
Dude, I can't. I mean, honestly, that's the safer route because, it's not the end that you hit with, so it's not splintered.
Yeah.
You're not going to splinter in your
Does he play with it sticking out of his asshole?
Dude, he sells them for money. People buy his doo-doo sticks. What is happening?
Well, he's just even in the playing field, Women get to sell their dirty panties. Might as well.
Some people need something to put on their mantle, Bob. What do you have against that?
We're all about
that's just capitalism, baby.
Here at Straight Chilling. Buy our doo-doo sticks.
Obviously. Bob,
Man, I don't know.
Bob signed doo-doo stick.
That documentary.
If you could make $1,000 off of a doo-doo stick, Bob,
would you?
I don't need $1,000 so badly.
What if you can
have strangers ram drumsticks in my ass? I'm all right.
Big
man,
money, Bob.
I'll find it.
Wow. It must be nice to be able to turn down money. Must be real.
You don't know how the rest of us live.
Put anything in my ass. I'm desperate. Please. No lube. Anything.
You do what you gotta, Bob.
For the blues, you know how many blues $1,000 can buy, Bob?
Drive a Buick in my ass.
My blues budget is entirely informed by how many things I stick in my ass.
Stick a chair in there. I don't care.
A chair.
Yep.
The fat end of a chair?
The fat end of a chair.
The fat end of a lazy boy. Anything. Man, All in the Family. That shit was wild. Really wild. That's all I've been watching. We do have one more segment.
Hotline Scream.
You motherfucker. We got one more segment to get into. It's our Hotline Screams. If you want to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have one voicemail this week. We know who this is, but didn't say his name, so I'm going to say it's a mystery caller. Let's hear what he has to say.
Ooh.
All right, boys. It's a acid trip vampire story. So there was 5 of us in the house, and 4 of us had dropped acid, and we had one babysitter. And for the come-up period, the first hour and a half, we watched Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. And somewhere during that movie, it clicked in my head that I was a vampire. And I convinced the other 3 on acid that they were vampires too. So the babysitter decided he was hungry, and he wanted to order pizza for takeout. And I looked at him and I said, we're vampires. We don't eat pizza. And they were like, well, what do we eat? And I sat there and thought about it. And I said, down the road, there's a guy in a wheelchair with no legs. He should be an easy kill. And they were like, good idea. And we all hopped up and started filing towards the door. The babysitter hopped in front of the door and stopped us. Thankfully. But for the rest of the night, I didn't trust him because he was the sober one. He wasn't a vampire with us. So for about 5 or 6 hours, about 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., I was running around the house, hissing, hiding behind furniture. Whenever he would fall asleep, I would try to pounce on him. He was probably scared. I still talk to him. He still loves the story. But anyway, the end of the night, I wanted to say this. In Gran Torino, have you ever watched the end credits and heard him singing this song? That was hilarious. That was the last thing I remember from that night. And it snapped all of us out of our high. Well, that's it, boys. Keep up the good work.
That almost took a real turn.
Yeah.
Randy's face.
That's why you have a babysitter. God damn. Kept you out of jail.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
That'll be an easy kill.
About turned into Robert Lowe.
Damn, dude. Wait, what was Gran Torino? What was the?
I guess
they were
there's
watching
a song
Gran Torino.
He said there's a song at the end that he sings. I'm guessing he means Clint.
Eastwood. I don't want to hear that dude sing anything.
I did. I couldn't finish that movie.
I can sing. That's what I think.
I didn't like it.
That would ruin my eye. That's for sure.
Well, I've never taken hallucinogens, but if I do and I start getting the urge to eat people, I would be grateful for the inclusion of a babysitter.
That's nuts, dude.
Imbibe safely, kiddos. You don't want to be in a fucking jail for the rest of your life because you wanted to have a weird night.
Dude, that babysitter had to endure 6 hours of being chased around the house and woken up by being pounced on. I hope you bought that dude a nice steak dinner. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that I wouldn't come to blows at a certain point in that situation. I would not be a good babysitter. Let's just put it that way.
The babysitter saves one person and then kills another.
Not when I can just stick a drumstick up my ass and sell it for $1,000. I mean, what am I babysitting over here for?
For the doo-doo stick supreme.
1,000 credits. How about that, Bob?
I'm wondering, I've got a prompt for now. What's the most ridiculous thing we could sell you that you would want to buy from the Straight Chilling crew?
Give us merch ideas, actually. Just give us merch ideas.
How famous are we to you?
Oh,
and tell us
we sold a mankini with our emblem on the crotch. Would you purchase it?
What's the most ridiculous personal thing I could sell you?
Dude, what if we made Speedos for men with just the number 69 right on the dick?
Uh-huh.
That market's already cornered.
I'll wear it first.
Maybe
I know you will.
Solid 1 star on the asshole, you know?
There's no asshole, buddy.
With a little,
just where the T meets, just that little tiny wedge.
There's no asshole? Is that what you said?
No. There's no Elliot. Did I say that?
There is no asshole, buddy.
There's just nope.
Hey,
some people want assholes on their robots, but I'd say no.
What do you stick the drumsticks in if there's no asshole?
Why do you want an asshole so bad? I like you just the way you are.
Why do you want an ass?
For the penetration, Randy, and the money, apparently.
It also isn't penetrating you. That's a bummer.
Bob?
Juice? Yeah. All right. What would you buy from us, I guess, is the prompt for next week.
Yeah. What can we sell you?
Also, what
personal item do you want to request?
I want to throw it out there again, Friday the 13th related stuff. Since, this is dropping week of Friday the 13th, what movies you like, what do you don't like? You ever do any crazy, you ever drop acid on Friday the 13th and run around thinking you're fucking Jason Voorhees or some shit?
Do you have any spooky stories from Friday the 13th?
Yeah. Call in. Let us know.
Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. Anything.
Okay.
It's broad shit, but that'd be dope. Yeah.
Broad shit.
Take a nice broad shit. And you can do that at 904-638-3231. We want your broad shits. That is it for us tonight here at Straight Chilling. We'll be back next week with a brand new show as always. We're going to be tackling a new release that's hitting Shudder Thursday the 12th. That movie is called The Sadness. It is a spooky zombie movie, apparently. Slam your eyeballs into the sadness and get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Hit us up on Twitter at STR8_chilling. on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast, and send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.